such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.
Hello there. Price of Reason here with a movie review. Every now and then a movie comes along that I expect very little from, to put it mildly. Whether it's the marketing, trailers, or press, I just get a certain feeling about it leading up to its release, and quite honestly, my first reaction is usually the correct one. Still, as a reviewer, when walking into a theater, I always give every movie a fair chance because until you watch it, you never really know how good or bad it'll be. And although it happens rarely, once in a while a movie that I have very little faith in manages to surprise me. When I had initially seen the marketing for the new Gran Turismo movie, my expectations were set to low. Just looking at these posters, I couldn't help but feel that this was the type of movie where some decent actors show up, collect a paycheck, and quickly disappear, hoping that nobody realizes that they were ever even there. Couple that with a video game brand name, a car company, and gaming console company who also produced this movie, and Gran Turismo had initially seemed to me like a very corporate movie that would essentially just be one long advertisement. And in the hands of most Hollywood writers and directors these days, indeed, this could have ended up being something laughably bad. Gran Turismo is based on the true story of race car driver Jann Mardenborough, a young gamer whose excellent PlayStation driving skills earn him a chance to actually drive real racing cars and then compete in real-world racing competitions. Story-wise, there isn't much to spoil here as this story is pretty much publicly known. At first, Jann isn't that good making the transition from gamer to driver, but over time, with the help of his driving mentor Jack, Jann manages to significantly improve his driving in professional races leading up to the movie's grand finale. And now that I've gone over the general plot, there's only one real question. Is this movie any good? And my answer to that is a somewhat reserved yes. I mean, it's not spectacular, but surprisingly, Gran Turismo, for whatever it's supposed to be, is at least pretty good. In this video, I will explain what I liked about the movie, what I didn't like, followed by my final thoughts. Let's start with the good. Number 1, the writing. Gran Turismo is written as an underdog type of movie. You got a young guy living a rather ordinary life, given an unexpected chance to pursue his dream of being a professional race car driver. And thankfully, screenwriters Jason Hall and Zach Baylin, for the most part, don't try to reinvent the wheel here. No pun intended. While I wouldn't have minded if there was something groundbreaking about this movie, I can at least say that these writers didn't try to punch above their belt. They wrote a screenplay that was definitely serviceable enough. Ever since Rocky came out in 1976, this type of underdog formula has been used in many different variations, but if executed correctly, that formula still works. As a result, this movie does a good job at establishing what Jann's life is like before he's given a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity chance, and how he and his family adapt when he decides to pursue his dreams. In the hands of lesser writers, this movie could have been an easy setup for some, modern-day commentary. Given that Jann is a guy that Hollywood would consider diverse, it would have been very easy to forcibly inject some dialogue into different scenes to highlight his diversity through virtue signaling and make that a big focus of the story. Thankfully though, the movie doesn't do that, but rather just focuses on Jann's journey itself, and to me, this is actually a much better creative direction. Instead of lecturing viewers into liking the character, the movie does it seamlessly with good writing, so that you end up organically rooting for Jann without being guilt-tripped into doing so. In addition, in the hands of other creatives, this movie could have also used Jann's relationship with his father to push the current trendy anti-patriarchy agenda, but it doesn't do that either. In fact, one of the things that I liked most about this movie is the father-son aspect. On the one hand, you have a young guy that dreams of being a professional driver, and a father that wants his son to have more grounded goals. And even when they don't see eye to eye, you understand where each character is coming from. You never think of Jann's father as evil or bad. On the contrary, it just seems like he actually cares about his son, which is overall positive. Finally, the character of Jack is also well set up as a mentor to Jann. And again, there are no modern-day snarky or mean-spirited comments made about that character in the movie. Jann and Jack developing a real friendship as they train for competitions is also done well enough. All in all, the screenplay builds up the story and different character arcs in a mostly logical way, and overall, the writers do a pretty decent job. Number 2, The cast. Considering the nature of this movie, it's nice to see that it not only cast some genuinely good actors in it, but that these actors actually took their roles seriously here and didn't just phone it in. David Harbour is perfectly cast as Jack. With his natural cynicism and on-screen presence, Harbour manages to really bring this story to life, especially during his many scenes with actor Archie Madekwe, who plays Jann. While I think that Madekwe does a serviceable enough job as Jann, in their many scenes together, I feel like it's actually Harbour that does most of the heavy lifting acting-wise. Another very good performance here comes from Jimon Hinsu as Jann's father. While he isn't given a ton of screen time, anytime you see him in the movie, he really delivers as he brings real gravitas to the role. I would even go as far as saying that without an actor on Hinsu's level, the father-son dynamic probably wouldn't have been as impactful in the movie. Finally, we have Orlando Bloom in a rather minor supporting role of a slippery executive, and while I wouldn't say that Bloom's performance really stands out in the movie, it was still nice to see him play a more douchey role against typecast for a change. Number 3. Directing. The movie is directed by Neill Blomkamp, known for movies like District 9 and Elysium, and I think he actually brings a lot to the table. The movie always looks good, the races are competently shot and nicely staged, but Blomkamp also knows how to slow down the movie when necessary for more personal character moments. Overall, while watching Gran Turismo, I could always feel that there was a steady hand behind the camera, and it seemed like a movie where real thought and planning took place. I mean, again, it's nothing revolutionary, but Blomkamp had a job to do here, and you could tell that he approached it with both professionalism and care. If I had to point out some issues I had with the movie, I would say that this movie suffers from something that I call true story syndrome. You see, by condensing Jann's real-life story that took place over the course of several years into a 2-hour movie, Gran Turismo often has to take certain creative liberties. This is because there's simply not enough time to fully explain how all the events unfolded, and while this is actually quite common in biopics or movies based on real-life stories, sometimes it is capable of causing screenplay problems. And while, as I said, I think that the movie is generally well written, but there are some ideas in it that don't fully work. Without getting into spoiler territory, there's something sad that happens in the movie that also happened in real life. The movie, however, presents it out of order chronologically from how it really happened in order to use it as a character beat at a specific moment in the movie. And with that moment located between the second and third act, its presence indeed feels somewhat clinical, and it somehow just doesn't ring true. Also, placing the sad event in the movie where they did weighs down the pacing of the movie for about 10 to 15 minutes, and I don't think that's what the movie needs. If anything, it may have benefited from losing 10 to 15 minutes of runtime. I can understand what they were going for and why they did it from a storytelling perspective, but one has to wonder if they couldn't have done it another way. And regardless, even though this movie gets a lot of things right, it never really rises above being pretty good. If I compare it to a racing movie like James Mangold's Ford vs. Ferrari, this movie is nowhere in the same league. But if I compare it to James Mangold's Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, then Gran Turismo is definitely leagues above that. I guess what I'm saying is, Gran Turismo is an above-average popcorn movie that can certainly entertain you for a few hours. Its use of a tested and true formula is very effective, even though it never really brings anything truly fresh to the table. What did you think of Gran Turismo? Did you love it? Feel free to let me know in the comments, and if you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to my channel and also clicking on that wonderful notification bell. Thanks for watching, my friends. Thank you, and good day.
I am such an awesome guy. I make so many videos.